Welcome to Devil's Food Kitchen. I'm Scott Green. Today we're making raspberry cheesecake. As always, links to the equipment I'm using can be found in the description below, as well as a printable recipe. I begin by prepping the cake pan, spraying the inside of the pan with a light coat of baking spray, then covering the bottom with a piece of parchment cut to fit. Using a paper towel to lightly coat the insides of the pan is a nice trick for keeping things clean, as baking spray tends to get everywhere, and you want to make sure you have a nice even coat. The crust for this cheesecake couldn't be easier. Combine ground graham cracker, melted butter, and in this case, gel food color. I've linked the color I'm using here in the description below. Now, despite making this crust hundreds, if not thousands of times, for some reason this time I thought it would be quick to mix this by hand. That immediately proved to be a bad decision, especially to evenly incorporate the color, so I quickly switched to a mixer and just mixed until well combined. Sprinkle the mixture into your cake pan and then evenly spread and press it down. I'm wearing gloves to keep any food coloring off of my hands. Once you have a nice even base, place it in the fridge to chill and firm up. I wanted to point out that for this recipe I'm using Tahitian vanilla. It has beautiful flavor that can be damaged when exposed to high heat, so it's a good choice when your recipe is cold process only. Heat the heavy cream until just warmer than room temperature. Melt the hydrated gelatin and add it and the powdered sugar to the heavy cream, mixing them thoroughly. And if you haven't seen me do it in other videos, hydrating gelatin is as simple as letting it soak in cold water for 5 to 10 minutes. The addition of gelatin to this whipped cream gives it great stability, which is perfect for finishing a cake. I like to hand blend the mixture to make sure things are homogenized, and then this will sit in the refrigerator overnight to set up. Begin the batter by combining the cream cheese and sugar and mixing with a paddle on low speed until well combined. Avoid high mixing speeds as they incorporate too much air and don't create the dense cheesecake that we all know and love. After mixing for 3 to 5 minutes, give the bowl a good scrape. You'll soon see that scraping is the real key to great cheesecake batter. Combine the remaining ingredients and whisk them together. Add this mixture to the cream cheese in several small additions. With each addition, mix for 30 to 45 seconds and then scrape, followed by more low-speed mixing until everything is well incorporated and ready for the next addition. Repeat this process until all of the wet ingredients are added, usually 4 to 5 additions. It's a little tedious, but it will give you a perfectly silky, smooth batter. As a last step, I like to pour the batter through a fine mesh sieve, also known as a chinois, to knock out as many air bubbles as possible. And of course, this step is optional. With the batter done, pipe a spiral of raspberry jam over the crust. Next, fill the cake pan with cheesecake batter until almost full, say 4/5 of the way. Cheesecake will rise or puff very slightly in the oven during baking, so you don't have to worry about it flowing over the edges of the pan. Add more jam and mix it into the cake batter using a paring knife. Once the cheesecake has cooled overnight, we can release it from the pan. I use a tart pan bottom to flip the cheesecake over and apply some heat. You could use hot water as a much safer alternative to a blowtorch. And after lightly heating the pan, I run a small offset spatula around the inside rim to release the sides of the cake. Flipping it over one more time, a little pressure on the bottom of the pan releases the cake, and the tart pan bottom I placed on the top of the cheesecake keeps it from sticking to the turntable as I'm working. One more flip, and we are ready for decoration. Whip the stabilized whipped cream on high speed until stiff. This can take several minutes to do, and don't worry about over whipping the cream. The gelatin is going to help prevent that. While it's whipping, prepare a piping bag and no tip is needed. I'm whipping the cream in 2 halves and coloring 1/2 pink with the same red gel color I used for the crust. Fill the piping bag with both colors of whipped cream and cut the tip of the bag at an angle. Pipe small scallops at a slight angle around the cake in concentric rings. This is your baking moment of zen. As a final garnish, I trimmed some raspberries and filled the cavity of each berry with more raspberry jam. I'm really happy with how this cheesecake turned out. I think the finish is very attractive and actually pretty simple to do, and it was a big hit at the party where it was served. I hope you give the recipe a try, and until next time, I'm Scott Green for Devil's Food Kitchen. Thanks for watching.